Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, staying safe, and certainly are prepared for an active day of severe weather that we are expecting. And that's what we're here to talk about, here to break it down for you guys. We did it last night, and we'll do it again this morning and see what's changed and what hasn't. Quick reminder, right now we have an enhanced risk, but sometimes when I drop these videos, the Storm Prediction Center will always do an update about mid-morning. So about 1, 2, maybe 3 hours after I drop these morning videos, sometimes they will upgrade the severe weather risk on their update. So if there is a moderate risk, I don't intentionally give you guys old information or anything like that. It's just, this is the latest information when I make the video. I always want to throw that out there before I start a morning video, especially on days of severe weather expected. But that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about the severe weather, break it down for you folks, keep you guys updated and ahead of the storm. And I hope you guys certainly are prepared. I think it's going to be a pretty active day for areas of the southern plains, and just basically all of the plains region. The middle of the country is going to be under the gun with some nasty weather. So I want to say thank y'all for 45,000 subscribers. I think it was just back in late February where I hit 40,000 subscribers. So, 5,000 subscribers in like a 2.5 month period. I mean, that is some steady but great growth. So thank you for anybody who's subscribe to my channel. Welcome to any new people, and I appreciate y'all folks who have chosen my channel to just make it part of the routine. Thank you so much. It means the world to me, and thank you for giving me a platform to talk about what I love. But with that being said, if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. And not only I will pray for it, but I promise you others will do so too. We got a family type atmosphere here. So we're going to get detailed for you guys. Let's get rolling. Water vapor loop, like we normally show in the morning, shows really what's going on very well. We have a negatively tilted trough, and I try to re-go over some of the same information many times for you guys to try to help you. And just for any new viewers, and just I try to explain things in a way where folks that don't really have a passion for the weather are just really tuning in just to see what's going to happen, because maybe their location might be under the gun today. But I try to explain things outside, just that, hey, it could storm at your house. I'd like to try to explain things in a way where you guys as the audience can understand why it's kind of unfolding the way it is today. So we have a negatively tilted trough like this, and you can actually see it right here pretty well on a water vapor loop. And when these things tilt like this, you see it has the tilt to the right. That means it is strengthening. It is negatively tilted, which means we have a strengthening storm system, and we have a surface low that helps to bring up dynamics into this region, which are kind of already there this morning. It's already very moist in this area of the country. We have an ongoing line of storms. It's leaving the panhandle of Texas and about to enter Oklahoma this morning. This alone is providing some nasty weather, some severe weather already, but we already have a lot of rain, a lot of convection. Anytime I say convection, I mean showers and storms ongoing in the plains and northern plains, eastern Colorado, Nebraska, the Dakotas, areas of Wyoming, Montana. And then we will watch this area today, as we could have some storms that fire up right into here. We have a marginal risk of severe weather and I would say a heightened flash flooding risk right in this region today. And then we'll watch a flooding issue in this region of the country today. But surface low, we'll dig down here. That's supposed to be an L, but you probably can barely see it now. And this will move in this general direction, creating a pretty potent atmosphere, a pretty substantial atmosphere that will support some severe weather today. So I know, guys would like to draw all over these maps. And some of it just kind of congeals together. But anyways, let's get rolling. Let's keep rolling. We have watches and warnings out here. We have a lot of flood watches in the dark green that you see. We're expecting a lot of rain today. And one thing I've not mentioned, but I know there's a lot of good content out there, a lot of great videos, is we're going to have some well above average temperatures in the Pacific Northwest with there's a little bit of a slang for it. It's called a death ridge, but really it's just a strong area of ridging of high pressure, which provides above average temperatures for an area. But you have excessive heat watches and heat advisories up here. It's going to be very, very hot, at least hot weather coming over the next couple of days for up here in the Pacific Northwest. So I hope you guys are prepared for that, which, your criteria for excessive heat is going to be different in one area of the country compared to another. So For this area of the country, very warm temperatures are coming. We're not going to talk about that really in this video, but I do want to let you guys know that big time heat is coming for the Pacific Northwest. Severe weather today, and we're going to zoom into this region. So don't think I'm just going to kind of show you this very broad look of it. We're going to zoom in on this area when we talk about and break down the severe weather threat for these individual regions, which I will have timestamps up for people who just want to kind of just go into their specific area, which I totally get. But enhanced risk up as of right now, as of 6:44 Eastern Time, 5:44 Central Time, we still just have the enhanced risk of severe storms. I don't think confidence increased. Remember I said last night that I thought there was a chance that we would be waking up to a moderate risk. As of now, it's still just an enhanced risk. But just a reminder, guys, that this could upgrade on the next update. So an enhanced risk up. For severe weather, we have a chance of significant severe weather too. We'll break this down more extensively here in a second. Marginal risk down here in the deep south. This does include all the way from the Big Bend areas, all the way down the western coast of Florida, all the way over here to Louisiana. So we will have some severe weather that will be possible to likely in these areas with some of these storms, more pulse in nature, meaning they'll kind of pop up, be outflow driven, and then kind of pulse back down, if you will. So excessive rainfall outlook. There is a moderate risk, kind of a bimodal moderate risk out here for flash flooding. You have this red area, which is at least a 40% chance of flash flood guidance being met. In the red area, yellow is at least a 15% chance of flash flood guidance being met. But a lot of rain has already fell in these regions, and a lot of rain will fall again throughout the day today and overnight hours. And then you got rain ongoing in northern Louisiana. We'll see how much this kind of expands and kind of moves a little bit further east throughout the deep south, which will promote a severe weather threat, which is why you have the moderate risk. But a lot of rain, we'll talk about how much is possible over the next couple of days in both of these regions. But let's go on and talk about the severe weather threat. So an enhanced risk up, and I just forgot that I don't have my Google Maps pulled up. So, I always like to try to mention a couple towns and cities out here for you guys, even though I kind of butcher some of the names. But, I like to give it my best shot. You guys know, you guys are always so kind in correcting me with some of the names. There's never any kind of negative feedback with that, which is always awesome to see. But what I can tell you, kind of a household name town city, is Oklahoma City, Norman, which will be under the gun, has an enhanced risk of severe weather. The orange region, that's a level 3 out of 5. If you don't know, it goes the light green, that's a general risk. Marginal risk is the dark green. That's a level 1 out of 5. Slight risk is the yellow. That's a level 2 out of 5. And then there's the orange, enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. And then there's a moderate, the red risk, a level 4 out of 5. And then there's the infamous high risk, which is a level 5 out of 5, which shows up in pink. Right now, we just have an enhanced risk. But remember, that could change. So, this does include, I would say this includes the Lawton area. Lawton might technically be in a slight risk, but like I said, don't focus too much. Basically, the entire Interstate 40 section, Hinton, Weatherford, Edmond, Kingfisher, Wantonga, hopefully I said that right, Enid, Fairview, Sealing, Alva, Woodward. You guys, Woodward, I would say, is more... I would say the worst of Woodward would probably be just to your east, but this gets into the Red Hills area of southern Kansas. I always want to say Nebraska, but Dodge City, you guys are going to be under the gun today where you have an enhanced risk. And, Pratt, Greensburg, trying to name quite a few cities here. Garden City, you guys have an enhanced risk of severe weather. So all those towns and communities, even up here, you get up to Colby, Oakley, Goodland, you guys have an enhanced risk of severe weather. I'm just mentioning the cities that will be the most under the gun. And then you have a chance of strong tornadoes. The yellow region, that is a 10% risk of tornadoes within 25 miles in any given location. That's what the yellow means. And if you're wondering, what is this black outline region right here where all the lines are going through it? That is what we call a hatched area, which means there's also a 10% risk, not added to the 10 to make 20, but just a 10% risk of significant tornadoes within 25 miles in any given location. That's the criteria for significant tornadoes is an EF2 or higher. When you get the EF2, that means you're doing some catastrophic damage for sure. And sure enough, you have that today for Oklahoma City for basically all of, not all of, but a huge area of central Oklahoma up here to northern Oklahoma into that Dodge City region. and places like that into southern areas of Kansas. Liberal, you guys have that risk, and Buckland, Ford, Mullinville, Greensburg, you guys have a hatched risk of significant tornadoes in this region. Hail threat, this will also be a big threat today, guys. Any supercells that get going, and one thing I will mention, I tried to break this down the best way I could in last night's video, the southern extent of this mode has the highest ceiling, but it's the most conditional threat, which means you might not get widespread supercells up here. The further north you go, the higher chance you're actually going to see storms. But the further south you go, I would say the higher chance you see significant severe weather. But you're going to have a lower chance to even see a storm in general. Some areas that have an enhanced risk of severe weather today might not get a drop of rain. It's just the way it is. Just understand. That's why it's important that, not just me, but others explain the detail into this. And I have the time to do it. I have time to do it for the most part. But these people on TV, they don't have a lot of time. They just kind of jump on there. They give them about 3 or 4 minutes of airtime, and then they tell them to get out of here. We got to talk about something else in the news world. But that's what we're here to do, try to get detail with you guys. But let me get off my soapbox there. A 30% chance in this red area of hail, 1 inch of diameter or larger. The yellow you see, that's a 15% chance of 1 inch of hail 1 inch in diameter or larger in this region. Let me slow down. And then the black outlined area, which covers some of the 15% risk and covers a large portion of the red area, which is the 30% chance, means there's also a 10% risk. Hatch risk is always a 10% risk. There's also a 10% risk of significant hail. The criteria for that from the Storm Prediction Center is 2 inch in diameter or larger hail. So you're going to get some very large hail, especially with any supercells that become dominant and very discrete. Discrete meaning alone and taking advantage of all the players out there, atmospheric players wise and dynamic wise, thermodynamics, kinematics, all those nerdy weather terms. The wind threat, just a 15% risk. They're not thinking that you're going to have a massive wind threat today, and I would say this is probably because your kinematics are on the weaker side. They're certainly there enough for a strong tornado, but you're not going to have a widespread, massive low-level jet in this region, strong low-level jet at least. So therefore, the wind threat, not quite as huge today, but this could upgrade on the next update to a 30% risk. Just right now, 15% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. All right, let's talk about North Texas, Oklahoma, and areas of Kansas. We'll start off this morning. First off, we'll look at what's going on right now. We have these ongoing storms. None of them are severe warned as of now, but I can almost guarantee you they're starting to enter the southwest portion of Oklahoma. I can almost guarantee you that some of these, come on, work for me, are producing hail. If you got radar scope, I can't speak for Radar Omega or Omega Radar, whatever it's called, but on radar scope, anytime you see the pink, that's pretty much saying that there's probably hail in the storm. That's how it reflects on radar scope. But these storms are moving in. What's probably going to happen today throughout the morning hours is the southern, let me see if I can get this going. The southern extent of these storms will probably weaken. This energy will continue to kind of pivot like this with a low pressure moving in this region over here, and it's moving mainly to the north. I would say more so north than northeast, and this is pivoting through. This is bringing all this energy in here, and then we will watch the atmosphere become unstable again after this morning convection rolls through. And the big question is, how unstable does the atmosphere get after this morning convection into this region? But this area of storms up here is likely to kind of maintain itself a little bit more just due to better forcing closer to the low pressure right here. So let's talk about what this can look. And I just want to remind y'all, we're just looking at the HRRR model. I would spend about an hour and a half on these videos if I compared every single short range model. So all we're going to do is look at the HRRR model, and I've already kind of compared them this morning, spent a little time, and none of them are that different than one another. It in general shows basically the same evolution today of the storms. But you get into the morning hours. Remember, we're in Central Time, so back this time you see right here up 1 hour. So we're at 9 a.m. technically, not 10 a.m. And we keep going, and it shows this convection right in here dwindling away. The morning convection I just showed you, that's live right now, ongoing. But it continues up here in southwest Kansas. So you will continue to have storms. If you live in any kind of town or community in southwest Kansas, you will already have ongoing storms early this afternoon making their way through the state. This could be a hail threat, maybe a tornado risk, and certainly heavy rain and lightning and damaging winds. But then we get into 4 to 5 p.m. This is when the atmosphere down here really begins to get, well, it really begins to get prime. Right into here, it's building up into this region, right into here. And anything that gets going in here, and this little kind of concerning sector that you see right here will shift to the east in the, throughout the afternoon, the evening hours. But, we keep this rolling right here as we're going through in time. This cell could be dangerous right here on the southern extent, kind of leaking into areas of northern Oklahoma. But really, we watch. Remember, more of a conditional threat. We talk about a CAP, C-A-P. That's basically an area of warm air aloft that prevents thunderstorms from really taking full advantage of all the fuel in the atmosphere on both areas of this boundary in the atmosphere. So you basically got this area in the atmosphere. It's called a CAP, and it's an area of stable warm air. So you got all this rocket fuel essentially south of this area, this little boundary, and then you got on top of this boundary too. But it fuels off all this updraft, fuels up all this energy, and then it hits this CAP, and then it flattens the storm out. In fact, sometimes you can actually visibly see it in the atmosphere. But it'll keep trying to build and hitting that CAP, and eventually it'll bust through it. And then it'll take advantage of all the other ingredients above, higher up in the atmosphere, above that CAP, and then that's when these storms can explode. And I expect this to happen somewhere in Oklahoma today. And I say somewhere, but I would say it would be just east of Woodward, Waynoka, watch out, Alva, Sealink, Fairview. Watch out these areas. I would say 6, 7 p.m., and these storms continue. And these could be tornadic producing storms. If any storm is going to produce a strong tornado, a significant tornado, EF2, EF3 tornado, it's going to be this area right into here. Okay, and this continues. We have to watch the forward motion. I would say that these storms start to move more west to east, and I would watch Enid. Watch out that region. Hopefully I'm saying that town right. Oklahoma City right into this region. These storms could be more so down here. There could be nasty weather down here too along the Red River. I don't want to just neglect North Texas. On the Red River, Wichita Falls, even though this run of the HRRR mile is not showing much, there could be some significant severe weather down here too. But you keep going, you get to about 9 p.m. If these storms are not producing a tornado, they will be producing very large hail. So I would watch out, even into Tulsa when you get a little bit later into the night, closer to midnight. These storms can be quite powerful well after the sun goes down. In fact, you could end up getting a nocturnal tornado threat. But, I would favor this region right into here. And the Storm Prediction Center favors this area too. Obviously, they're the experts for a significant tornado. We just got to watch, see where these storms actually develop today. But, I don't want to neglect you folks in North Texas. You guys could have a stronger storm too. And then this complex of storms continues to cruise across somewhere in Oklahoma, could be even in southern Kansas, and then we'll see how strong they are as we get into the morning hours into northwest Arkansas and then southwest Missouri. But also I want to mention these storms up here in Kansas today. We cannot forget about these either. Garden City, watch out today. Garden City, Scott City, Lakin, Syracuse. Watch out. These will be cold core setups. So I would say there could be more tornadoes up in this region compared to down here. But I would argue that they're not going to be significant. But I would watch for some tornadoes. This is closer to the low pressure. There will be better kinematics, meaning better energy aloft that supports better wind energy aloft. Meaning there will be more of a spin and speed to the atmosphere the higher up you get. The more you increase in height. That's kinematics. Really winds. Think winds when you think kinematics. What kind of favorable wind pattern aloft supports tornado development? And I would say it'll be better up here but the storm motion will be very quick. These storms will be very fast moving. So if you're in western Kansas, please watch out for some storms later on. I really think that these have a chance to produce tornadoes in western Kansas. In fact, everybody's so focused on southern Kansas and Oklahoma today that there could definitely be Scott City, Oakley, Garden City. Watch out. These storms later this evening could produce in this region. We look at the significant tornado parameter, and anything above a 1 supports ingredients for tornadic development, guys. So we're getting to 5, 6, 7 p.m. This really begins to increase right into here. The further northwest you get, the closer you get to the low pressure, right into here. So you're probably not going to get as big time thermodynamics, which is how warm is the temperature is where you're standing, how moist is it, how high are your dew points, your lapse rates, which I don't talk about enough, but lapse rates is basically how quick does the temperatures change with height. So do they drop dramatically? That means you have some steep lapse rates, okay, which provides convective energy to the atmosphere. And it's basically just another ingredient for severe weather. There's so many more things that go into weather than what people realize. And I'm not gonna keep going, but I wish that local meteorologists did not get so much heat. Because they just don't really have the time to really explain it to their audience. I honestly wish more meteorologists will do stuff like what I do, create a YouTube channel and, show it to their audience more, just explaining what goes into this. There's a lot of people that are interested in it, but significant tornado parameter really spikes later into the, I would say, evening, probably right around dinner time or just after. And you have STP values, significant tornado parameter values, 8, 9, 10s. That doesn't mean there's a 10 out of 10 chance to see a tornado. That means that your ingredients are pretty high for a tornado, and this continues throughout the area, right? In this area that's favored, that we've just been talking about over the last several minutes for tornadic development. Updraft helicity swath, we can look at this, until the cows come home, but just remember that this doesn't mean that you're going to have a massive wedge tornado right here in central and north central Oklahoma. See the cold core setup showing up. This just tells us the more vibrant the colors are, the oranges and reds, things like that. If you consider red a vibrant color, some people wouldn't, but it just tells us that this is the higher chance of what we can have rotating updrafts, which could turn into a tornado. So we keep this going, and I spent a lot of time on that, and I'm running out of time, but we're going to just keep rolling, trying to keep you guys aware. We're going to cover Colorado, Nebraska, the Dakotas, areas of Wyoming and Montana in this video. You already have an ongoing area of showers and storms, and that's moving into southern Colorado this morning. I would watch basically the entire eastern half of Colorado, especially once you get to the kind of east central areas of Colorado right into here, northward into northeast Colorado. You guys could have just a pretty nasty line of storms that sweeps throughout the entire afternoon hours. This could produce a lot of heavy rain, frequent lightning, flooding with the heavy rain, gusty winds, and you could have a hail threat. And you can't rule out a tornado, but I would say the tornado threat up here is not going to be high at all. But scattered convection everywhere, anywhere from Omaha up here to South Dakota, eastern South Dakota. I would say it's more widespread heavy rain. And all the the west. If I get my directional mixed up, it's not because I don't know the difference between west and east. It's just because I do this on the fly. I don't edit anything, guys, and I got so much stuff flooding to my head to say. It's kind of just waiting in line to say that sometimes I just get things mixed up, so I do apologize. It's not my intention. But western areas of the plains in general will stand the best chance for severe weather today. But I would say the further north you get, the more of a risk for just heavy rain there will be. But listen, you could have some big storms later this evening in all of Nebraska. I would say more so in central to western Nebraska. And then I would say as we're getting into the 8 to 9, 10 p.m., this convection begins to kind of dwindle away. But, still watch out in far northwest Kansas. Some intense storms associated with this low pressure could be ongoing. You could have an ongoing tornado threat in northwest Kansas. Watch out, Goodland, Colby region. And then you'll have like a tail whipping area of storms moving through a large section of Nebraska. And you just got to watch out for some embedded spin ups, even in this line of storms, closer to that low pressure that will be somewhere right into here. But a lot of heavy rain will be falling up here in this region. I would say the severe weather threat will be decreasing, but I would say if you're in this entire region right into here, you stand a solid chance to at least see rain at minimum today. But you could also see some severe weather. But it's everywhere, as you can tell on the map. It's hard to figure out the exact area of who's going to see the worst weather. But that entire area does stand a good chance to see at least weather today, if that makes sense. But a flooding risk today, you're not going to get 6-7 inches of rain, but you guys have already seen a lot of rain. And this area does not normally see consistent rain. So, it gets very dry is what I'm trying to say. So all this rain you've seen lately could start to run off. And, if the soil is already saturated, then actually 1 to 2 inches of rain probably won't do a ton. But if it's very dry, it could. Now, if it's really, really saturated, it will do a ton because the soil cannot soak in all this moisture as fast. But what I'm aiming at is anywhere from 2, 3, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain is possible in eastern Montana, western sections of the Dakotas, Nebraska, and especially northeast Colorado. A lot of rain can fall in eastern sections of Wyoming, northwest sections of Kansas. Basically that same area I just circled in the last panel. We'll see a lot of rain over the next, over the next 48 hours. Yeah, this is through Saturday morning. So. The ingredients going into the severe weather today, and I'm not going to stay super long on this just with time restraints, but I can tell you, how much do you warm in this region down here in the southwest Oklahoma? I would say is a big target area. Watch. Do you get all the way into the low 90s? If you do, then you're definitely have some high-end what we call thermodynamics, which is surface temperatures. This depends on what this morning convection does. If the morning convection dwindles away really quick over the next few hours, then warming will have no problem at all happening. The warmer you get, the higher the thermodynamics, the higher chance you're probably going to bust through that cap that we just talked about earlier in the video, and then you will have robust thunderstorm development in this region. So watching for low 90s to emerge before thunderstorm development later today. Next thing you look at is these dew points, which is also considered a thermodynamic. You're already very moist this morning. You'll watch for this bulging dry line in this region, which will only help aid in dynamics into this region today. Dew points will go from very low to very high in a very short amount of distance in this region in western Oklahoma and then areas of the panhandle of Texas. Almost said Florida there. But you got some deep moisture building all the way into the Oklahoma City region throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Dew points might reach the low 70s into central Oklahoma. And you got dew points all the way into the 60s over here into western Kansas. Very moist air, pretty far north too. In response to all of this, those strong thermodynamics, check this out. Look at this. Kind of this wedged in area. Remember that area I circled earlier in the video? If you're one of those folks who do watch the entire video, which I appreciate you folks so much who do, this will be an area to watch. The further south, as usual, per usual, the better thermodynamics you have. The warmer it is, the further south you go. The more moist it is, the further south you go. Yada, yada, yada. The further north, you lack thermodynamics, but you have better kinematics. Better low-level jet, better winds at the surface, aloft. Remember, aloft is above your head. Things like that. So where does your happy medium happen? Happy is not the great word for it, but where does your overlapping of the best thermodynamics happen? That happens in this region right into here. So you got Kate values surging, mixed layer Kate values surging in this region above 3,000 joules per kilogram. That is a lot of dangerous fuel to the atmosphere. Something is going to get going in this region, unfortunately, today. And you are going to have I think we're in for a big day in this area. We just have to watch the evolution of these storms. The fail mode with this, which would be good news with these storms, is that you just don't get thunderstorm development in this region. So we'll certainly watch for that. But moving into the deep south, we got to start speeding this up a little bit. I'm going to be late to work. The deep south today, you got ongoing storms in and around the Shreveport area in northeast Texas. This will continue. Heavy rain could fall throughout Arkansas throughout the morning hours. Stronger storms will redevelop here in northern Louisiana if the HRRR model is correct. Could have some showers and storms that are possible in and around the Nashville area, western Tennessee, even some showers in the southern areas of Kentucky. And then these will start to gain some steam as they enter the western Mississippi area. We'll see how much of a punch they are packing in this region. Damaging winds are possible, small hail threats. Can't rule out a tornado in this region. But we'll definitely watch these storms as they sweep across the western deep south throughout the day. Could be stronger the further south you get, where there's just better thermodynamics, better energy to the atmosphere right down here. So, Meridian, watch out a little bit later this evening, southern areas of Mississippi. But these are definitely storms that are taking advantage of daytime heating. So as soon as you get into around midnight time frame, these storms begin to dwindle away, lose their steam, and then you could wake up to some more storms in northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, even areas of Alabama tomorrow morning. Rain in this area between now and the next just 24 hours. You could get a few to several inches of rain in northern areas of Louisiana, even areas of central and southern Arkansas. A couple inches of rain is possible. Southwest Mississippi, a couple inches of rain is possible. And then little areas here and there that could get half inch to an inch of rain depending on where the rain fires up in this region. The rest of the southeast today, not a whole lot to speak on. Some showers and storms could make it all the way into areas of southern Illinois, areas, basically the entire state of Missouri. Could get some showers and storms, just not expecting a big severe weather day. Watch out here in southern Georgia, along the western coastline, the Big Bend areas of Florida. You could get some daytime heating that could pop up maybe some sea breeze action. Some storms are possible in and around the Tampa Bay area. The Carolinas points northeast. I wouldn't expect much of any kind of activity today. Northeast, pretty quiet. Not much to speak on, really at all. We'll watch a little disturbance that tries to move in from the northwest out of Canada, out of Ontario. This could deliver some rain showers into northern New York State, Vermont, and New Hampshire. You could wake up to some damp conditions in those areas for your Friday morning up here. Maybe even some showers down to Boston tomorrow morning. We'll see what happens with that. Not a big deal. The rest of the north central U.S., don't want to leave you guys hanging here. Some showers ongoing in southern Minnesota. And then, even watch out. In these regions right here, the Midwest, you could have some storms that are ongoing this afternoon. They could be severe. It's just, it's probably being overlooked by the more significant severe weather threat to the south today. But some showers, maybe even some storm action is possible to kind of swing out of Missouri into areas of southwest Illinois. Later this evening, showers are possible in southern Iowa as we get into the overnight hours. And then, just some showers will probably greet you folks in Chicago for your Friday morning and all of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin for tomorrow morning. Temperatures today, typical late spring type day. 80s all the way up into Canada. Big time heating into Texas, southwest Oklahoma. Very warm day into southern Georgia, most of Florida, Alabama, widespread 80s. It's just starting to get into that summer type pattern, guys. Widespread 80s all the way up into the UP of Michigan, 70s and 80s, unless you're bordering the Great Lakes where the waters will keep you guys cool at the surface. But 70s all the way into Canada, Ontario, Maine. Very nice warm day. Severe weather chances will continue, guys. You'll have a slight risk of severe storms moving into tomorrow in these two regions, and we'll talk about that more in depth tonight. Day 3, which is for our Saturday, still an ongoing risk of severe weather. 2 areas, one thermodynamic driven, one kinematic driven. And then I would almost guarantee you that even getting into Sunday, you're going to have a risk of storms. It's just I think we're going to enter an active period. It was looking like May might start off slow, but it just seems like you can always bet against that. So hope that helped. I got a lot more detailed into that and that I expected to. That's probably one of my better flowing videos that I've done in a while. It's wild, prayer is powerful, even in the smaller things. I said a prayer right before I did the video because I've been struggling the last week with these videos, and I've had to start over multiple times, which each time I start over, it definitely heightens the chance of me being late to work. But prayed and the video flowed perfectly. So thank y'all for tuning in. Stay safe out there. God bless. And I'll be with you guys this evening.